Next, we're going to talk about the patient queue. Now, the patient queue is on the left side of the screen, both on the calendar screen, as well as in provider mode and patient chart mode of the SoapNote screen. You'll most commonly use patient mode. However, you will probably use provider mode occasionally. But the patient queue is going to look the same whether you're looking at the calendar screen or the SoapNote screen. So you can see all of your scheduled appointments. We have we have an adjustment with hydrotherapy, we have an exam, we have a re-exam, and some adjustments. And you can see on the calendar here, we have Harry and Ginny are scheduled together. And if you notice this red 3, if you just toggle over, you can see the third appointment scheduled at that time. So we're going to arrive these patients. So typically these patients would arrive themselves from the kiosk. So they'll type in their phone number, it will check them in, mark them as arrived, and they will be moved here on the flow screen. However, for the sake of this video, we're going to manually arrive them by clicking on the drop-down arrow and moving them to arrived. So first I'll arrive Hermione and then Remus. Just going to arrive all of these one at a time in order. So all of them have been marked as arrived, and you'll notice the arrived icon now shows on the patient's profile. So next I'm going to come over to the flow screen, and I'm going to exit out of this patient snapshot. And you'll see here, I'm going to exit out of any patient I had pulled up. You can see Dr. Mike has the following patients arrived, waiting to be adjusted. You can see on the appointment type, it'll show you whether it's an adjustment in hydrotherapy or re-exam, or if it's a new patient, who will show in an entirely separate queue here. Now, we'll talk about draft notes and incomplete notes in a moment, but just for the sake of this video, I'm going to drag this patient over to table 1. So when the patient goes over to table 1, and I'm going to pull up the snapshot here, January 2nd, so 01, 02. I'm going to click into patient mode. They will type in 01, 02. If the doctor does not post the soap note right at that time, then they can save as draft. However, this should not happen very often, because the charge being posted to the patient's profile, as you know, it depends on posting this note. So this is not a hydrotherapy appointment, it's just a regular adjustment. So you can see the adjustment code was added here. So if I have not completed the note, let's say that I, entered in a little bit, I'm just going to save as draft. The patient is still going to be checked out, but the soap note is not completed. So if I come back to the flow screen, you'll see that this patient is in draft. They will not be added to the completed queue until the appointment is actually completed. This was a previous appointment earlier in the day. So this drafted appointment is something that needs to be taken care of within 24 hours. So incomplete appointments here are appointments that have been arrived, but nothing ever happened with them. So this patient was arrived for their appointment, but they were never drafted or completed. So at the end of each day, incomplete appointments and draft notes should ideally be taken care of. So that is the queue. If you're in patient mode, they'll enter in their birth date. If you are in provider mode, the doctor can just grab the next person in the queue. They will show from the most recently, the most recently arrived will show here. The person who has been longest will show at the top. So this patient is first, Severus checked in next, Ronald checked in after Severus, etc., etc., etc. So that is the patient queue. Again, if I have a patient pulled up, the snapshot, I do have to exit out to see the queue in order. And to view the calendar, you just click on calendar, and to move over to the flow screen, you click flow. But either way, you can pull up the patient snapshot and view the patient queue or collapse the patient queue from either of these screens.